What is up, my Gaggle of Geeks? Why did I go that high up in the registry? Welcome to this episode of Gaggle of Geeks, where we're going to be talking about a bevy of things. We're going to be talking about the news of this week. We'll talk about Westworld in our new segment, where we're going to be talking each episode as they're coming out, starting on Sunday. And we've got a wonderful interview with the director of Stray Dolls, Sanjay Sinha. So stay tuned for that at the end. Right now, though, I want to introduce my co-host, Chaz. How's it going, man?
Oh, it's going. It's going good. Going well? Going well.
I think we're in that week of quarantine where everybody's kind of like, so where are we going with this? You know, maybe everybody's been at that point for a while, but like this week it's finally I finally got really anxious just being at home all the time. I don't know if that's the same for you.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. And my alcohol supply is kind of low, and I don't want to go to the liquor store because the lines are outrageously long.
The lines are out the door. It's crazier than Costco, and it's in Utah.
Yeah, I know, that's crazy. And like, I don't think it's worth contacting or getting coronavirus, possibly just for waiting for liquor.
No, I agree with you. I've really wanted to go down to there, but whenever I see the line, or even I see Costco's line, it's too much anxiety to even like want to put myself in that. Like, by the time I get in there, I'll have downed a bottle. By the time, just like, oh crap, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But we do have a little bit of news from this week. There's a couple things that are happening. There's going to be on the 12th a new Netflix episode of Tiger King, or kind of a recap show starring Joel McHale from Community, and
which is now streaming on Netflix.
And that bitch Carol Baskin is not involved in it. We should let everybody know. But she did have a few things to say this recently about the creators of Tiger King and what's been happening to her in her life lately, which debatable if it's believable or not. I mean, when you've got a lady that likes to take pictures of her husband like tied up to a chain that she's holding like a tiger, I mean, and the whole thing with her husband, it's tough to believe a lot. But apparently, from what she's saying, there's a lot of drones that are coming around her house. There's little community fan groups that are issuing death threats to her. And I don't understand that aspect, because really Joe Exotic and her are the same. They are both like disgusting people. Joe's probably worse when you think about it. Like, he's getting people hooked on meth. He's abusing tigers. He's doing all the worst things you could think of. But for some reason, everybody's like, that bitch Carol Baskin, and everybody loves Joe Exotic. Is it because he's just crazy and he's got that weird personality? What do you think is the difference?
Yeah, he's very charismatic. His character draws you in, even though you know he's batshit crazy. Carol Baskin is just off. She seems off. And I love how when they go into depth about this conspiracy within the tiger world of all these zoo kingdoms, right? Where they're like, she killed her husband. And it's like this spoken thing between all these big cat people, and the whole public's like, wait, what? Like, such a random rumor.
No, that whole show. I was talking to my wife about this because I heard some report somewhere, and it's probably not true. I'm imagining like maybe an influx. Maybe if it was 50% fake movie news before coronavirus, it's now went to 75 because people just don't give a shit. And people need something, you know. But the news is that Rob Lowe is being considered to play Joe Exotic. And I was talking, that itself is enough to like just cover this whole episode. But what I thought of when I was talking to my wife was like, nothing can compare to the real like documentary of this. I don't want to see a movie. I don't want to see any interpretation. We've got it. We've got the craziest that you could possibly go. And like, even if they try to change it, I don't think it's going to be as crazy.
Yeah. I don't see Rob Lowe playing him.
No, I couldn't see that. I did say maybe Nick Offerman could do justice, because just I think he's got that range, and we've not really seen him really go all out, and that could be really interesting.
Dude, Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton. Oh yeah, we talked about that already.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
That was the perfect choice.
He's the perfect choice.
The fuck am I talking about? All right. Well, moving on. We finished that story. Did you see that Taika Waititi was doing a live stream about Thor Ragnarok yesterday?
No, there's been a lot of movies doing live streams. I saw Godzilla's live stream.
A lot of directors are taking the reins on their properties, I should say, their projects, and actually doing their own director's commentary for people. And Taika did a very interesting one and gave some rumors to Thor: Love and Thunder that I think are kind of interesting. Um, One of the big ones is that most people were really hoping to see in Thor Ragnarok, and I found out later on that we did get a little tease of that in Avengers Endgame. But Beta Ray Bill is again teased to be in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Beta Ray Bill.
Beta Ray Bill. If you guys don't know the character Beta Ray Bill, he comes from a different planet. He's kind of their chosen champion. He was kind of augmented to be a warrior, so he doesn't look like most of the people that live on his planet. And funny enough, that planet where he's from in Avengers Endgame is featured. There's a specific scene where Nebula and Gamora are fighting in 2014 on a random planet, taking out tons of people. You remember this scene. Turns out that is the home world of Beta Ray Bill.
Oh, it looks like Christian Bell's the one that's rumored to play Beta.
They're talking about him being Beta Ray Bill, or they're talking about him being the God Killer. I don't remember what his name was, but him as Beta Ray Bill, we'd have to see. But here's what Taika said. I mean, I love Beta Ray Bill. Should I do it in the New Zealand accent?
Yeah.
I don't think I could do it. I couldn't do his. Hey, man. I mean, I love Beta Ray Bill. It will be awesome to have him in the film, but I just don't know right now. Things I know in the air. Everything is in the air. Coronavirus is in the air. He did say that his script is incredibly crazy, way more over the top than Thor Ragnarok, which, if that is the case, I would like to see what Taika Waititi considers as over the top. But what do you think about all this?
I think he's a great director for Thor, personally. Because like we talked about in the last episode ish, how Thor has never had like a grounded personality, and most of his personalities has come out through like the Avengers movies, and he's always like a side character in there. So the fact that Thor Ragnarok really expanded on his personality more than like the first Thor movie or the second Thor movie did, I think it just fits him better. And I think how do you say his name? Taika. I think he's a fine director for that, so I'm curious about it.
I am excited to see him continue on with Thor, but a lot of me wants to say he should keep doing stuff like Jojo Rabbit and like do more independent stuff. But if he I'm all about, if the creator loves what he's doing, then that's what he should be doing. He or she should be doing.
Yeah.
And like, for instance, Patty Jenkins, when she was working on Thor: The Dark World, when that first script came to her, she was not in it. And she actually went on an article recently to talk about why she chose to leave Thor: The Dark World, because she just wasn't as invested. And she was talking about, when you're specifically a female director and you're taking on a project, you have to be so invested with it, because the minute you aren't and that product isn't as higher up a quality, the difference between a man making that film and have it be not up to snuff versus the first female director, much more weight is put on the female director. So her moving to Wonder Woman was a good idea, but Taika taking it over and loving the project and loving Thor, he revamped that character so fucking well. Like, I've never seen, like, Thor was not as entertaining as he was in Ragnarok, and his character was not as funny, was not as charming. He was kind of a dick surfer for most of the first few films, and Taika totally turned it on its head and made it what it is today. And so I'm very excited to see that. What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. There is a few other things. We've got a couple more looks at Diana's costume for Wonder Woman 1984. If you've seen kind of the gold costume with the wings flying out, as well, just a little shot of what her old original costume looks like. Is this film ever going to make it to air, though?
I got pushed back, did it not?
Yeah, it did.
By like a month or two. Which isn't bad. I mean, there's some movies pushing it back till like next year.
That is true. I'm looking through all of the There's another release saying that there's a picture of Cheetah, but that was bullshit. There's a picture of Cheetah. You think they're gonna like? I saw a little secret picture of that. They're gonna go full out, right? Like, regardless of cats, they're gonna totally make her look like Cheetah.
Probably.
They better. I'll be pissed. Don't let cats ruin that. Just don't give her a butthole, you know?
Or don't make her act like a cat.
I think that's up to the actor.
Okay, have you?
Sir Ian McKellen decided he would be a cat in that movie.
Did you read the article where this guy watched cats on shrooms?
No, but I did watch Cats on Edibles.
How'd
And
that go?
shrooms would be frightening. Shrooms would be frightening in a way that I don't really think I could even visually comprehend. Because already when you're watching seems like an acid trip to begin with, especially with the wonky CG. Because I had watched it before the CG was whatever the hell they decided to do.
Yeah.
And so you've got Judi Dench singing, and she's got human hands and a cat body. And you're like, am I imagining half of this? What part is real now? I've eaten way too much edibles, and now I'm an hour into this, and Rita Wilson just zipped down her whole cat suit into another cat suit. That was probably the most terrifying part. I remember audibly going, "Oh!"
Dude, that's terrifying.
You never saw it, right?
No, I did not. I'm not going to waste my money on that. I know better than that.
We've got the Batman news that that makes me sad. That's not good news. I thought that was better news. So it looks like the Batman only shot about 20% of the movie before the production shut down. But director Matt Reeves did say something interesting about his film. First of all, a lot of people were speculating that it might be connected to the DC universe with Wonder Woman and all of them, and that it wasn't going to have... Well, unfortunately, it takes place during modern day. So it is confirmed this is not a Ben Affleck younger adjacent moving into that role. Like, they've started a new universe with this. And I think that's a great idea, especially with Batman. Batman is is the flagship character. Back in the day, it was Superman, but now it's Batman. So when you take that, and this is what Matt Reeves said, he wouldn't have taken this unless he had creative control to do what he wanted. So what do you think about that not really being tied into the DC universe? Does that give you more hope that this is going to be a better story? Does it really matter in the end?
Well, seeing as how DC universe right now with Wonder Woman and Aquaman and all that, those are like very high budget CGI fight fests, right? The visual looks that we've got, like the first looks from the new Batman movie, does not look as visually CGI'd. It looks a lot more moody and like contained rather than, you know. So I'm happy for that. I'm curious for the movie. That's on my list of curiosities.
It's more than curiosity for me. I'm very I'm very ready for this to come out. Like, it will be more than a decade, I think, by the time this comes out from when Batman Begins, I think, came out.
Batman Begins came out in 2005.
2005, right? So if they were to push this a couple, it would almost be a decade.
Since The Dark Knight Rises, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But also, dude, Robert Pattinson, I'm excited to see what he does with Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yep. I'm trying to zoom in on a picture of him because it looks like his gauntlet is a little more silver in one of these pictures. And he's got baggier pants, which means fighting is inevitable. There will be some good fight scenes because he'll be able to stretch out, you know? So many people that were in the Batman. Like, let me show you this one. You think this guy is able to move at all in this? Like, look at that. How do you turn that? That's how he turns. He can only turn like this. But with this one, it looks like he can turn his head. It's got kind of that collar popped up so that it looks like it's still the cowl, but he can move around with it. And you don't need Lucius Fox to do it. He looks like he's doing it all himself.
I'm down for that. Disney furloughs hit film labels, including Marvel and Lucasfilm.
Oh no! So they started getting rid of some of the. Well, I mean, furlough. They still got benefits, but it's like what we were saying. They're closing down these properties because they can't get into the building to start editing or working on it.
Marketing and distribution departments were affected.
Oh yeah, well there you go. What are they distributing if there's nothing to distribute?
So there's that Disney news.
And what was you were wanting to bring up Parasite and Bong Joon-ho. We've got some news about that.
Parasite is now streaming along with his other movies on Hulu.
Hulu has a pretty good selection. I'm not going to lie. Like, I've found myself moving more to watching Hulu shows than I am watching Netflix shows.
When the Hulu Twitter account is actually trolling people who are complaining about subtitles.
How so?
There, what was one? Let me look at it real quick. So they said, so this guy says, it's not in English. No one wants to watch a movie that they literally have to read to understand what's going on. Sound is such a huge part of the movies, and it being a different language is so weird. Hulu says, if you don't want to read subtitles, you can always learn Korean.
That's good.
And then somebody else said pathetic.
I love that people are complaining to Hulu.
It won 4 Oscars.
Like, why are you complaining to Hulu about this? If there's any people that you have issue with, take it up with Bong Joon-ho and the creators behind deciding not to do an actual overdub. Because, like, to be fair, a lot of anime films and, like, The Raid, I remember, I do have a version of The Raid where it's not subtitled and it's dubbed over. Some people prefer dubbing more than they do subtitles. For me, I think subtitles are much better because at least you can actually hear the actual voice coming out of their mouth and not some random, like, Butch Cassidy, like, very American voice come out of a clearly Korean woman.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what?
And Hulu actually changed their profile picture to have that line going through it that's on the Parasite poster. And then their whole cover photo is all their TV shows like Letterkenny, High Fidelity, Handmaid's Tale. All their characters have the little bar over their eyes too to celebrate Parasite.
Oh, very nice. I think that's going to be one that everybody will be watching, hopefully, except for anybody that saw the Trump tweet and is a part of that group. They're probably honestly the ones that are tweeting about this shit. I don't see how anybody could hate this movie or even have an issue with this movie. If you've watched it from beginning to end and you paid attention, you should have a blast with this.
Yeah,
Even subtitles. Yeah. Read, people. You're in quarantine. You can't read. Like, I get it if you're like, I've got 5 other jobs I got to do and I got to leave and I'm just watching it on my phone. I get that.
Yeah.
But no, morons, fucking read.
Disney is remaking its classic 1973 Robin Hood film as a CGI Disney Plus exclusive. Patrick, what are your thoughts on this?
Can we be done with Robin Hood for at least a decade? No, we're not. They're gonna suck everything dry of its childhood fantasy. We already have this stupid Taron Egerton film, and that's not escaped my brain yet. I still remember that shit, and it was a direct ripoff of The Dark Knight. If you watch that film.
Oh shit! Seriously?
Oh my god! Even to the music sounds like it, and I can't wrap my head around that. I can understand. I'll understand Dumbo more than I understand this shit. That's stupid.
Okay, did you watch Ridley Scott's Robin Hood?
Yeah, I did. That one was pretty boring too. I really haven't liked any Robin Hood since Robin Hood Men in Tights. It's the last one where I was like, this is great. Everything else has been like, you're making a very weird attempt at Robin Hood with a very different take that isn't working.
Yeah, and The Lady and the Tramp is the movie that inspired them to do this.
Damn them.
Because they know it's not going to make an
Money
impressive
is what
return.
inspired them to. Money is what inspired them to do this, and the realization that all they have is streaming, and animators can animate from home.
Disney recently announced it has surpassed 50 million paid subscribers, thanks to launches in the UK, India, Germany, Italy, Spain, Austria, and Switzerland.
Oh, good. So they've started pushing out worldwide.
Yeah.
Very good.
What a monopoly.
Yeah, well, they're very poor right now, Chaz. I don't know if you've heard. They're very poor. This billion-dollar company, they're very poor.
Martin Scorsese in talks with Apple to fund his next film with rumored budget of, take a guess.
I think Irishman's budget was pretty big, like at least 200 mil. So he's at least going to be looking for that.
200 mil, yeah.
Yeah, is that it? Oh, hell yeah. I had no idea. That's awesome. Well, we'll see if Apple's like down for it. Why do you think he went to Apple instead of Netflix? The Irishman not work out as well as he'd hoped, or?
Oh, Apple Plus or Apple TV Plus has shown itself to be more friendly to movie theaters.
Interesting.
Whereas Netflix,
how can you show friendly to movie theaters when every movie theater is closed?
Well, so Netflix would prefer if all originals debuted first on its streaming service, and Apple has been open to traditional box office runs before a title heads to its streaming service.
Okay. So they probably made a deal with, because I know back with Netflix, they made a deal with Scorsese that he would at least get a theatrical release. I wonder if Apple is like, not only will you get it, we'll suck your dick while you're getting it. We'll make sure
I think they only did that too is so they could be nominated for Oscars, because I think the Oscars have rules where you have to have a movie in so many theaters to be considered.
It has to be in LA and New York.
Is that it?
Yep, on both sides of the coast, from what I understand. But I think that'll be. I mean, what's his new film? Do you know much about it?
And then I have one more piece of news that saddens me.
Okay. And then I'll give you a brighter news.
Okay. Human Centipede star Dieter Laser dies aged 78.
I don't think I've seen the Human Centipede. I know what it is. I'm not going to watch it because I saw Two Girls, One Cup, and that was enough for me. You know what I mean? Like, there's only so much human depravity you can watch before it's like, I don't want to live on this planet anymore. And Human Centipede is one of those where it's like, I know what that's about. I've read the synopsis, and good Lord.
He's the doctor that sews their mouths to each other's assholes.
How old did he live?
78.
It wasn't COVID, was it?
No cause of death was given.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you're sewing mouths to assholes, that's pretty long-lived life, you know?
How would you like to be known as the guy from Human Centipede?
I know, right? Well, we're not gonna be known for shit. We'll be known for this. But Jerry Seinfeld's going to be known for a little bit more, as he's going to be launching a second stand-up special on Netflix. It's 23 Hours to Kill. This is going to be one with him returning to the Beacon Theater in New York. And we also have if you're a fan of stand-up, I love watching stand-up. And for these, they've got a Patton Oswalt special coming. Patton Oswalt is one of my favorite comics. And his stand-up special, which is very interesting if you've watched any of his stand-up stuff, is called I Love Everything. He does not love everything. I've heard him talk about things he does not love. But I'm interested to see what this is. Like, I think we need more stand-up right now than anything. And I love, who are some of your favorite stand-up people? Like, I've got a list, but.
Bill Burr.
Okay, Bill Burr.
Daniel Tosh. Anthony Jeselnik.
So you go for the more like
profane,
edgy in a gross way.
Yeah.
Man, for me, I love Mike Birbiglia. I love John Mulaney. I love there's this really good stand-up special on HBO called The Great Depression. If anybody is struggling with depression or anxiety and need a good laugh and a good look at what it's like for someone in that group, go watch that. It's super funny. Like, he had this line. I need to look him up. But he has this line, and I'm going to reveal a little bit about myself here. But he talks about like depression and what it's like. It's Gary Gulman is a stand-up comedian, and he was talking about like when you're depressed, there's stuff that you have like a depression blanket. He's like, so I've had this depression. I had a depression blanket. I guess let me rephrase that. I have a depression blanket. Let me rephrase that. It's backstage right now. It's like, you know what? Depression blankets, that's a real thing. I walk around with some of those sometimes too. But that's a great stand-up. I think any of his... he's got a really good one.
I know who he is.
He doesn't do a lot from what it looks like, but...
No, he looks very familiar. He has that face.
He's got that face. Yes, he does. As I guess that's all we'll cover for this news. We can get into the main topic of the day, which is... Westworld. I hope you guys liked that intro video. Maybe it was good. Maybe it wasn't. But we are starting to talk about Westworld Season 3 because it actually is giving us some answers to stuff and not waiting until the very end of Season 2 to tell us anything.
Did you really have an issue with Season 2 doing that?
Dude, I hated Season 2. It almost lost me. Like, when you set up when you set up a question, right? When you set up a question in the story, you can't wait till the last episode to answer it and spend the full length of it not really delving into it as much,
Yeah.
Like they start a premise and then they don't really go from there. But with Season 3, it seems like they're actually, I don't want to say dumbing it down for me, but they're kind of dumbing it down for me. And it's not a bad thing. I kind of like it. But Season 3 just started a few weeks ago. This is the new take where Dolores is now in the real world. We had a lot of huge reveals happening last episode, and I'll kind of give this over to you, Chaz. What do you think about this season so far?
I love it, dude. I love exploring. So because with the first season, it was all Western, right? Hence Westworld. Second season, we see more of this like Asian continent influence.
Mm-hmm. They wanted to introduce the worlds. Like,
yeah, and it was kind of like a mix mash of Westworld and other worlds. I should say.
What do they call it? It was Samurai World, right?
Yeah,
Samurai
something like that. And then this one is actually, I mean, present day, quote unquote, right? Because it's not really present; it's in the future for you and I. But when the show takes place, it's definitely in their present world, and it's kind of cool to see how far their technology is and like what politics are going on currently there, and how a lot of the AI reflects like a lot of human consciousness to prevail all,
Totally.
I'm for this season.
What I'm loving a lot is just going into the real world. Like, I'm glad that we're finally seeing what this actual world is like that would decide to create its own separate universe on its own, and seeing who those big, powerful people are behind the curtains. We're getting a lot of looks at certain aspects of it. I want to kind of go through the first couple episodes to recap people, and this is going to be spoilers, everybody. Like, you can't talk Westworld without talking spoilers with some stuff, especially with this last episode. So what we have, Dolores is kind of going within all of the companies that worked on building Westworld, because her goal is to go after this big artificial intelligence, which I forget what it's called. Yeah, you got to remind me, Chaz. What's the big black orb? That
no
Rehoboam? Something weird.
Oh, the flagship program.
Yes, the thing that is so we discover that there's this algorithm calculating device, I guess, where it can really determine what's happening to people. It records everybody's data, and it does calculations and algorithms to show the probability of certain things happening and not happening. Basically, it can use your data to tell the future.
Right.
And that's what she's trying to I don't know if she's trying to destroy or manipulate it.
I would imagine manipulate it.
She's very good at that. And there's a lot of manipulating in the first episode where we get, and this is why I like this season, because they're giving me the people that I love. I love Aaron Paul, man. I got to see Aaron Paul and more shit. And they put him in this, and he's actually doing a great job. He is the character that's coming from the real world and kind of getting thrown into this crazy sphere of Dolores trying to start a huge war between the humans and the hosts, in a sense, showing that they can take over.
Yeah, what I like about his character is that like he's like one of the only characters that we've been introduced to who doesn't have any inkling to the AI. Like he has no interest in like exploring like Westworld or anything that we know of yet, you know. And so he seems like just an ordinary dude thrown into their world now, which is interesting because like they're actually on his world.
I didn't think about this until just now, but I'm realizing he is the Teddy of the real world to Dolores.
Yeah.
He is gonna, and maybe that's why she's so accepting of him being around, because she misses Teddy in a sense. And when that reveal has come that most all of these characters that have moved into the world with her, you think are separate and have nothing to do with her, that they're own characters, you come to find she has put her consciousness in almost every character in the film. That's the big in the story. That's the big reveal. And the only people that aren't a part of that are trying to go against her is Jeffrey Wright playing Bernard, who is fantastic. I love him in this, and I'm so glad that he's going to be Commissioner Gordon. And Maeve, who really her only goal is to find her daughter and get into that new realm that was introduced in season 2. And I got to say, that was actually one of the most beautiful episodes in season 2, was that episode with the Native American.
Yeah. I like how she's like the polar opposite of Dolores, in the sense that we've seen them both do these crazy, absurd power moves with controlling stuff and like making people kill or robots kill themselves or using machinery to kill people, you know, and like but the thing is Dolores is a lot more manipulative with it. Mm-hmm. And hence when that is revealed that it was actually her that she was talking to in that dude's body. Dude,
I love that. Well, that's kind of the introduction to Samurai World, because in season 2, Maeve is the person that goes into that world, and she meets different people. One of those people that she meets returns in season 3, and you think at first it's that character, then you think it might be Teddy because of his actions, and then the big realization comes through and they really edited this episode so well so that all of this can converge into a big reveal, because you see all these characters throughout the, like, especially I think a couple episodes before Tessa Thompson's character.
Yeah,
that's crazy at this point now to think that she's also Dolores and she's fighting against her code. Like,
and the thing too is that like we knew that there's these robots, right? But like they never revealed who they are, and so you're like trying to assume, like you said, that they're Teddy or that they're somebody else from the world taking on these new skins, essentially, right? Mm-hmm. And so, you're right. That reveal was beautiful.
And we also got a little bit of a look in The Man in Black with Ed Harris and what's going on with his character. He last season did a lot of fucked up stuff to his own life and to everybody's around him, and to the point where he thought he was going crazy. And that's what they play around with in this episode. Dolores is just fucking with him at this point, where she's like, I got you, man. I can mess with you all I want now. And that's where I'm like, yeah, I guess you deserve that. You've done a lot of shitty things to Dolores. She can do whatever she wants to. But what do you think of his character arc? Where do you think he's going in this?
I don't know, because like the first season, it's like the huge reveal in the first season was that it turns out it was playing 2 different timelines, right? Mm-hmm. How it has this younger version with Dolores, and you don't find that out until like the 5th or 6th episode, I think, maybe 7th. And so I thought it was gonna be like a arc of him going back there because he fell in love with like a robot. Mm-hmm. But turns out that's not the case. But then like in the second season, he had like this huge obsession with Anthony Hopkins' character and trying to find the center of the maze, right?
Yeah.
And that's when he went like super crazy. And then this one, he's just going downward spiral. But I mean, to be fair, he did kill his daughter. So,
and they mess with that too. They bring the daughter back in a type of ghost haunting him that he might say that he made the decision consciously and he knew what he was doing, but it's killing him inside. There's no way that he actually understood what he was doing.
Yeah.
And now that he's locked in this cell, this mental facility, where he comes out, I think it's gonna have to be Bernard. If I'm being honest, I think Bernard is gonna have to make a deal with the Man in Black,
It'll be interesting.
because I
I
don't see
do
him being anyone else.
no, and like him being in the psych ward, or is it? Can we call it the psych ward?
I think it is. I think he is in a psych ward.
That almost seemed like the end of his character. So I don't know. I don't even know if we're going to see more of Man in Black.
Oh, he's coming back. They can't just leave him like that. He has to. They're going to give him a redemption arc now. Like, he has to be redeemed for the actions he took against his daughter. So something needs to happen for that. Maybe he needs to save Maeve's daughter.
Ooh, what if he takes down Dolores? Okay, do you consider Dolores bad?
Now I do. Like, at this point, I think everybody has a progression. She was very of the opposite part, but now that she's learned in her own experiences that humanity can't be saved or trusted, she has therefore become her own villain. And Maeve is that same way, but her choices are not meant to try to attack the human race. It's just for her to get away from the human race. And while Dolores is much more, this is my right to be here.
Right. And going back to the Man in Black, how you said that, like he wasn't consciously aware that he was doing that, kind of like a robot, just like doing it. It's
in my
interesting
opinion, he said that he was doing it, but
right. No, but I mean, going off what you said, it's interesting. If that's an interesting perspective, because the roles are flipped, where humans are supposed to consciously know what they're doing and robots are not. But it seems like the AI certainly knows more like what they're capable of than like what the humans.
Absolutely. There's another couple characters I actually have really enjoyed seeing. John Gallagher Jr. is playing Liam Dempsey, who is kind of the mogul's son, the architect of all of this AI's stuff. This is like the Don Jr. of the group. And just is like, I'm spending money getting hookers, whatever. Oh, there's Dolores. She looks cute. Uh-oh. And then Dolores just straight up hijacks all of his money and puts him at gunpoint. And then you have his bodyguard, which I think he's fascinating. I love that character. Tommy Flanagan plays this fantastic character named Martin Connells. He's this bodyguard that hates who he's bodyguarding. And just, it's like, I don't want to deal with your shit, so let's just both move forward and not talk to each other. But there's something interesting with his character involving with Bernard, Dolores. What does he know?
I don't know, because he's Dolores technically.
Is he Dolores? I didn't think that would be him. I thought it was.
He's Dolores.
I didn't think he was Dolores.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I missed that. Fuck.
Because she stole, what was it, five things from.
Yeah, but was it confirmed that he is one of the 5?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
BS.
No, dude.
Well, then his character's not that interesting anymore. Because I thought it was really interesting to see him going back and forth and playing both sides, but
it's Dolores.
Fuck that. A fun fact, Kid Cudi was in the first episode of the season. There's that. Who else? Oh, the Hemsworth. The oldest Hemsworth that has been in all of these seasons as kind of the security for the park, that is now confirmed to be a host as well, that Bernard is kind of fucking with to try to get through different areas. I like what they're doing with his character. I thought it was a cool fight between him and Dolores during that Weekend song. You still there? Looks like you cut out. Did you cut out?
I did.
There you are. Well, good thing I was just talking. Well, I was talking about the Hemsworth boy and how good he's been in this season compared to the other couple.
Who is he?
That would be the guy that is taking over. That was the head of security for the park that Bernard is kind of using to go through. And it turned out he was a host. So now he's like the Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator character as opposed to the Dolores.
He had the fight scene with Dolores.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I really liked that fight, and I really like the music. Like Westworld, if the story is fucked up, the music ain't. Like the music is very, very good.
Could we talk about the music plays on the what do you want to call it? what happened previously segment of the show in the very beginning.
Yeah.
How it's like how do you explain it? It's like a underground base. It's just like under the skin. What?
Nothing. I was just making face. Trying to see if I could catch you.
Yeah, I'm like, am I explaining that weird? I probably am explaining that weird.
Probably didn't. No one saw what I was doing. I was doing this while I was talking. No, nothing. All right.
Now the music is great, and like the fact it's the composer. What's his name? He's from Game of Thrones. I don't know.
Rawin something.
Yeah. The like, I don't know, modernism, I guess, is a way to describe it. Whereas Game of Thrones is a lot more classically, with epic music.
For most of Westworld, it has that very like so badass. But when I was speaking specifically, whenever it cuts to like the covers of songs of like classic songs and stuff that is like just done on piano or a very simplistic version, it kind of reminds me of the band Vitamin Strait Quartet. They're like an orchestra that their only goal is to do popular covers, but in like a string quartet version. That's kind of what they do in this. And that's one of my favorite things is to, once I start hearing that, to be like, all right, what song is this? What song are they doing? Like, what was the first, I remember the trailer was for Sweet Child of Mine. Like they did Sweet Child of Mine. That was so cool.
What was the song they did this episode?
This was The Weeknd. They did a Weeknd cover.
Oh my gosh. I love it. Dude, in such, I don't know, like, so there's people that complain about the show because the second season takes a while to explain itself, right? And even then, some people still don't understand like what exactly it was all about.
That's me, man. You can call me out. I'll take it. Like
I'm still in the boat. I'm calling out somebody who blocked me on Twitter, but
well, I unblocked you, so get over it, Chaz. Fuck.
I love how like it's not afraid to take chances and just go with it,
Yeah, totally.
And it's definitely not a show that you can like play with on your phone and like listen to in the background. Like you have to be watching because there's so many details that you can miss.
Mm-hmm. And the next episode is coming out this Sunday. I'm hoping that we get more. Like I'm really satisfied with the pacing that this season is taking because it's not like we're going to tell you everything right now, but they aren't leaving you in the dark. You know what I mean? They're still giving you reveals. They're feeding me as I'm going, rather than starving me for the better part of the season and then giving me a buffet that I'm like, oh shit, okay, let me try to eat all this.
So, and I'm looking on Wikipedia right now to see who the directors are. There's only 3 males, and the rest are females.
Oh, nice.
That's kind of cool. And Lisa Joy is the main, not the main writer, but her name pops up the most alongside Jonathan Nolan as writers.
And Lisa Joy, if you guys don't know, she's worked on things like Pushing Daisies, Burn Notice. That's kind of all that she's worked on, but those are really big. Pushing Daisies, I really liked that show. Do you remember that show back in the day?
I've never heard of it.
Oh, that was a good one.
Know.
You know what they need to do? Here's how cable needs to save themselves during this quarantine. Start putting out old shows that were canceled. Or give us like a pilot day where we just get pilot episodes of shows that happened or didn't and let people vote on which is the best. Like have a full day on that.
That'd be fun. Like 21 Jump Street.
Oh, hell yeah. That would be super fun. Or let's do Mulaney. Do the Mulaney TV show again. Or remember when they did the Caveman TV show? The Geico Cavemen? They had
a TV show for that?
Yeah. It was called Cavemen, and it was starring Justin Kroll. I'm going to recommend to jump in. I'll be honest. Like this is for people that have already gone through season 1 and 2 and are in season 3, but I can't recommend people start it knowing that season 2 is such a bore.
See, I'm on the opposite end. I say watch it all.
This is why I need you. Why the difference? Like, is it just because quarantine and suck it up? It's enough time for you to pay attention.
Well, I mean, there's that. But like, also, like, I don't think season 2. So, like, season 1 takes a while to get to where it's going, right? And the huge twist is like the separate timelines when you realize that you're watching William, his younger self. And the thing that gave that away, though, by the way, was the color of their eyes.
Interesting.
The actor had blue eyes, and then uh, what's his bucket? Ed Harris. He has blue eyes. That's what gives that away.
Do you think they're going to bring in younger Men in Black anymore? They'll do any more flashbacks?
Dude, I'd be down for that. Because in the second season, we see that, but we see it more on the business side.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I'm curious what happened to Anthony Hopkins' character, because I thought this whole time they were searching for like his secret.
This did feel very much like far away from that guy.
Setup, right? Yeah.
But it's not a bad thing for me. I like what they're doing. Like, and not to say that Anthony Hopkins, but the second season when they brought that boy in, I was like, what's this fucking boy doing here? I don't get this.
Well, I didn't mind it either, though, because like the whole thing was like trying to go through a maze, because they're like, we have to find the center of the maze, right? And that was their whole philosophy in the first 2 seasons. And so the fact that like the second season took that long to explain itself, it's like we were on the maze with them.
Mm-hmm. That's a great That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And so join the maze people.
I loved it. Yeah.
Everybody join this maze. Find the secrets to why Chaz wants you to continue forward, and why I think you could just go to season 1 and I can't say skip season 2, which is why I'm saying just don't even, I don't know. But let's move on to our final little thing today. And it's actually pretty awesome because I was able to sit down with the director of Stray Dolls. This is a film that won Best Actress in Tribeca in 2019, actually. And this year, finally, they're releasing it on VOD. It's directed by Sanjay Sinha, and the film is called Stray Dolls. It's kind of like it's a thriller. It's kind of set in a Florida Project type of genre. It really focuses more on like the immigrant story, what it's like to have the American dream as an immigrant. And it's got a lot of interesting stuff to it. And we were able to sit down and have an interview with her. So we will cut to that, and that will be the end of the show. So with that being said, Chaz, where can the people find you?
I am on the Twitter verse, your boy Chaz.
And then you guys can follow me on all my social media. We'll put links down below. Once again, thank you for watching, and we will see you at the next review. She is one of IndieWire's 25 filmmakers to know in 2019, and her work has been featured in Filmmaker Magazine, Hollywood Reporter, Variety, just to name a few. Her film, Stray Dolls, premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival last year and won special jury mention for lead performance. And you can check it out now on VOD this Friday. Please welcome Sanjay Sinha.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed watching your film. Weirdly enough, I have a lot of questions, so thank you for coming on.
Of course, happy to chat.
So I wanted to first kind of ask, just because with this year being so crazy, obviously Tribeca was indefinitely postponed, but you were able to experience Tribeca last year, and not only experience it, but succeed, push through it, and win awards. What was it like as an experience for a filmmaker going into Tribeca last year?
Sure. Well, Tribeca has been a huge supporter of my writing, of my earlier films. So it really just felt like coming back home at Tribeca. I have received now probably 3 to 4 grants, development grants from Tribeca. I've done several of their programs. I won their IWC award, which Chloe Zhao won the year before me. So it really was an incredibly supportive festival. They were so excited for Stray Dolls. They accepted us, just way early. And everything was set for a lot of support that the film received. It was also, I'm based in New York, so it was my home city. We knew we could pack all the theaters and have a supportive audience. So it was really an exciting place to premiere, and we loved that experience there. We won a grand jury mention for performance, for Gitanjali Thapa's performance. And yeah, it was a dream to premiere there. We found our distributors as well right after. But yeah, we had a great experience at Tribeca.
You actually gave me a perfect setup into the next question, because with winning Best Actress with a strong performance from Gitanjali Thapa, what was the energy like with her on set? What do you attribute her incredible performance to with this?
She is incredible. You know, I had seen a film called Liar's Dice, which premiered at Sundance and then I believe Cannes. And I had seen her years ago, but her performance had just stuck with me. And our casting was really laborious and long for the lead for Stray Dolls. We started with casting in, you know, looking at a lot of Indian Americans for the role, and then I knew deep down that to stay authentic to the character, we should really bring somebody directly from Bombay or directly from India, the way that the character was written. So our casting search quickly became global, and you know, on an independent film budget, that's really risky to do because you have to secure visas and O1 visas, which are really special visas, and you have to do this on this very expedited timeline. So we started casting in Bombay, and I was reaching out to several directors in Bombay. One of them is Anurag Kashyap, who's had several films at Cannes, who's a good friend. And so he directly connected me to Gitanjali Thapa because I was asking about her, and she loved the script, wanted to do it. And then we began the whole O1 visa process, which is really quite arduous. But thankfully we got the visa approved. I think it was like 3 days leading up to the shoot, and we were able to bring her over. But I think that decision was, while it was fraught with, you know, uncertainty, I think it was important to remain authentic to the story and to the character. And Gitanjali just brought so much grit, and you know, she brought so much of herself to the role, and she really shines as someone really unique and really different, and she's a breakthrough. So I'm really glad we went through all of that.
Oh my God. And for people that don't know, like, I'm hearing you tell me this, and I know a little bit. I know basically nothing when it comes to getting it into and submitted to a festival and how long that takes, and just like, I know the pressure of just independent films and the time frame that you're saying, to throw in a government timeline and having to work with the government as well to deal with you getting, like, for people that don't understand, how long did it take for this to shoot completely from the time that you guys got everything together, you were ready to say action from start to finish? This isn't like Avengers Endgame where it's going to take a few months. You guys have to do it really quickly. Everything is so quick when it comes to independent film.
Right. So we had 6 weeks of prep, and then that led into 22 days of shoot days, 22 shoot days, which were all 6-day shoots with 1 day off. So it was a pretty tight timeline, and I think I wanted to prioritize getting as much time with my actors as possible. I think sometimes in indies you don't even get 19 days, but I wanted to make sure we stretched to 22, which is great. But, you know, we had to do that based on not having a weekend, not having 2 days off, shooting 12-hour days. So, yeah, it was pretty nonstop once we got started.
I really appreciated the locations that you were filming, mainly at that motel. Was that an on-location place that you guys had to kind of rent out for a little bit? You guys shot it beautifully. The cinematography in this is beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's Shane Siegler. He's incredible. But yeah, in terms of locations, the motel was a really hard place to get. A little bit like Gitanjali's story, we were looking for motels all over the East Coast. We were looking in Long Island City, New Jersey, upstate New York, and a lot of motels, because there's so much crime there, it's like a hotbed for true crime. They don't want shoots there because then you can like sort of get footage of the real crimes going on there. So a lot of active motels didn't want us to shoot there. We had maybe gone through 50 motels and we couldn't find one. And then finally we found this motel where we shot it in Poughkeepsie, and it was a foreclosed motel. It had foreclosed, I think 3 months before we started shooting there because of 2 gun shootings there. So 2 people were shot there. I don't think they died.
Oh my God.
And so because they were shot there, the motel was closed. It was in foreclosure, and the bank was about to like resell it. And it was in this weird limbo process, and we were able to get that. We were able to just rent the whole place, and, you know,
holy crap.
And we tried to clean it as best as possible, but there were still like some doors that had like blood on it. It was really kind of
I mean, for some of the movie, I know what happens in this film. There's some places where you can be like, just leave the stuff where it is. It looks pretty okay. We got prop design now. Especially with
Exactly.
the one character that I don't want to get into too much spoilers since it's going to be out on Friday, but with a certain development that happens where they have to work to clean an area, I can see how that would be like, oh crap, we've already got some stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, it was really once we had found it, we knew that so much of the work, so much of the story was already there. We just had to sort of accentuate it as best as possible. But yeah, it was quite a wrangle to get that motel in the first place.
So I do have a question that I've wanted to ask, but to me, I also sound really dumb by asking it too. A lot of these questions, I think I sound more intelligent than when they come out actually sounding.
Oh,
But
these are
the film,
great.
the film to me kind of it talks about the American dream, but it does shift it in a lot of ways. Like in a particular scene where Riz is walking into the main hotel lobby, and you overhear a certain political figure that is now kind of destroying a lot of stuff going through his talking points. And I started realizing that there's kind of a dichotomy between Dallas and Riz's character, between what we expect from the media and how we see the immigrant story versus really what's happening in real life. Like in this story, I would not say that Riz is the person that is instigating anything that's breaking the law. That all comes from a character that's born and raised in the U.S. I just kind of wanted to ask your take on the American dream, because I know that it does talk about that a little bit. What do you think about that?
Sure. So, as as I was developing the script, I was sort of aware of all the other films that sort of tackle immigrant characters or immigrant stories. I'd seen a lot of them, like Maria Full of Grace and Sin Nombre, and these are incredibly well-made films, but I was starting to see a pattern. I felt like all the immigrant stories or films that we had seen thus far focused on the survival part and focused on the immigrant's dream to come to America, but the film is preoccupied with this idea of survival. I sort of wanted to, in making Stray Dolls and wanting to make Stray Dolls, I wanted to expand that conversation to, well, what does it actually mean? What is the American dream? What does it mean? How is it flawed? And how is it setting up not only just immigrants to fail, but also Americans who are outsiders up to fail? So I wanted to sort of I wanted to create a new conversation around these issues that are so palpable in our daily lives and they affect all of us, but I think we haven't seen the other side of it. Outsiders in America, whether you are white or an immigrant or a person of color, if you're an outsider, even socioeconomically, I think you're set up to fail. And so that's why I wanted to create a character like Riz, but also a character like Dallas, who's this all-American runaway from the South. And they're both sort of on this equal seesaw. They're both outsiders and pretty disadvantaged at that. So I wanted to create new areas of conversation, but around the same themes, and sort of show something really new and different that we hadn't seen before or hadn't considered before. Also, Riz is not preoccupied with just survival. There is her sexuality, and there are these other colorful aspects about her and about Dallas as well that take up screen time and we are allowed to experience and sort of think about, along with their sort of disadvantaged and challenged decision making that they do.
That's perfect. I was thinking while I was watching, mainly most of those parts, just like this is different from what we see normally, and it's so refreshing to actually have a fully rounded character in these different aspects, and you did a great job of that.
And thank you for saying that, because another thing that I felt I had seen a lot was this really sympathetic immigrant character on screen. And I think the media wants us to believe, these extremes, like either they're like barely surviving and really sympathetic, or they're complete criminals. There's really nothing in the middle that makes them complex, that makes them human. And I really wanted to sort of play in the middle in that gray area where we see all the layers of what makes this person human, and she just happens to be an immigrant.
Well, with writing that character, what were some like the biggest, or I guess with any of the characters, because a lot of them are really rich with what they have and kind of like their quirks and stuff. I was gonna have this be its own question itself or just a statement, but I think Robert Aramayo is a spitting image of a young Quentin Tarantino, and like just his like character dynamic in it. It was really funny to see. It's like, looks just like Quentin Tarantino. But when it came to writing these characters, what were some of the more challenging parts?
Actually, I wanted to make a film about different kinds of outsiders in America. And I think back to what you were saying about Riz feeling really complex, I think the challenge was really creating these outsiders that feel really complex and really whole, even though they're sort of on the same plane as outsiders. Una is also the motel owner. She's also an immigrant, but she's a different kind of immigrant. She came when she was 4 or 5. So at this point in her middle age, like, she has more opportunities than Riz. She has a motel. She has more sort of economic, she has an economic upper hand, but yet she also is a Trumpian figure because she believes, immigrants should pull themselves up by their bootstraps. She did it herself. And so why should she give Riz a break? So I wanted to sort of play with these really morally questionable aspects in all of the characters. And then, of course, Rabah Ramaya's character, Jimmy, he's, a typical teenager, even though he's a typical teenager trying to rebel and trying to, push boundaries and defy his mother and not follow in his mother's footsteps. So there's these universalities on top of what makes them really different and really complex.
I remember reading that you had gotten your start as a film editor at Final Cut. Now helming your own feature, do you think that starting out as a video editor kind of gave you more of a natural progression into directing? What was it kind of hard, like working with somebody editing? Was it like, I want to take the control and work on it right now? Because I know being an editor myself, sometimes it's hard to give your baby to someone and have them work on it. How is it working with an editor, and how is that natural progression?
That's a great question. I feel like people usually don't ask the editing question, which I remember as an editor. But I do think, editing teaches you storytelling, and I was an editor for 10 years, and as I was editing documentaries where you're basically discovering the story arc and the character arc while you're editing on your Avid, I think it really teaches you script writing. It really teaches you structure, act 1 to 2 to 3, and how do you captivate an audience throughout. So I really found that my fundamentals are cemented in the craft of editing, my storytelling, my fundamentals of storytelling. But I loved collaborating with my editor. His name is J.D. Smythe. He's incredible. We were at Final Cut together as editors, as colleagues, and then, he thankfully wanted to do the film. But we had a great collaboration because once I'm done directing, I feel so spent emotionally, physically, psychologically, that it was actually so nice to just hand off the drive to somebody else who comes to it with a clean slate and who can find new opportunities and find new things that I wouldn't even think of. And just because my mind is at a point of such exhaustion by that point, it's just a really refreshing collaboration to have. And I'm the type of person who's never happy, and I'm kind of a perfectionist. So I'm really hard on myself, which it's a work in progress. I try not to be, but it's nice to collaborate with somebody who's like, no, we can save the scene, and has ideas to do so. And JD is one of those, and so it was a great collaboration, and I really enjoyed the editing process.
A longtime partner, it seems. That's awesome. Was Fleetwood Mac always the band of choice to draw kind of parallels between like the dysfunction and chaos in the story? Because that artist very specifically has a lot of like friction between each other, and they're always cheating on the other. They're always doing whatever, and there's chaos in that band itself. Was there any comparisons that you were intentionally putting in or unintentionally?
Yeah, that was exactly it. They're so American, and their music is almost this nostalgic Americana music that at least transports me every time I listen to it. But when you look under the surface, so much antagonism happened between them, and they were at such war. So I think the metaphor is perfect, that it's when you look under the American dream, there's so much conflict, and things don't appear to be what they seem from the outside, and that's kind of the story of Stray Dolls. So it was actually the perfect parallel, and thankfully we were able to get some of those songs.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, wow, they've got a budget.
Yeah, actually, it was.
Anytime you hear a song that's like, that's a name I know.
I know. And we had a very small budget, but we were able to afford like a couple of those Fleetwood Mac songs, which are incredible and became anthemic for the film, really.
It really is one of the films to, like, nowadays, especially nowadays, nothing is in theaters, of course. This is on VOD coming out on Friday, and I guess my final question, if you don't mind, is just with the times that we're in now. I think this film lends more importance to certain aspects than maybe it didn't a month or two ago. If you could give someone like a pitch to go see this on Friday, what would you say?
Go see Stray Dolls for these, two incredible characters, Riz and Dallas. Go on a ride with them. It's one of those films that lets you go on a ride, but at the same time, if you want to stop and talk about it and think about it, it lets you do that as well with your families that you're now quarantined with. And yeah, it's a film for our times, but also for the future. And hopefully we can look back at this film years from now and still take away something that's resonant.
Sanjui, thank you so much again for coming on. Where can the people find you if you're on Twitter?
I am on social media. I'm everywhere. I'm Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter. Yeah, reach out. Tell me what you think. I'd love to hear from audiences.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was such great, insightful questions. Thank you.